I have this American bison leather on the bench this week as part of a job that I'm doing for a customer. And it got me thinking, I've never really talked about the different tannages or the different ways that animal hide is turned into leather. So I figured we could talk about that while I make this wallet. Now, a quick little note, I'm not a tanning expert by any means. I like to make things out of leather, and so I have a okay working knowledge. I've worked with tanneries to spec different custom tannages in the past, so I know a little bit, but I've never worked at a tannery. What I say isn't gospel. So if you want to dive deeper into this stuff, there's plenty of info out there. Just go and read up on it. And we're just going to get into a couple of the more popular leather types and why you would use each. So on the bench here is a chrome tanned leather. Now this is bison, but it acts the same as cow, except a lot of the times with bison you get this beautiful tumbled grain effect. Bison is well known for that. And you can see it's a little bit thicker than a veg tan leather would be. And we'll talk about that coming up. Let's talk about vegetable tan leather first, because we have this Wickett and Craig bridle leather on the bench that we're processing, and it's a vegetable tan leather. Vegetable tan leathers are basically the original way that leather is created. Vegetable tanning is traditional. It's environmentally more friendly than other tanning methods. And what you're doing is you're tanning the leather using plant tannins extracted from plants. This can be tree barks, leaves, fruit skins. There's, I believe, a consortium in Italy that is using byproduct from the wine industry. So grape stems, leaves, skins to create leather. It's really a natural process. Starting with the hide selection, you have to be a little bit careful though, because vegetable tanning, now a pure vegetable tan leather that is not grain corrected is going to show every mark that was on the animal before it was turned into leather. You want to select the best animals that have been harvested from areas which they are not really bitten by a lot of bugs, from areas that they're not kept in close quarters with a lot of barbed wire, things like that, because any marks that they have on their skin are going to create scars. Scars are strong, but they're not very pretty to look at. So once you've got your hides, what you're going to do is you're going to use some lime to remove the hair from the hide. You're going to flesh the hide, which removes the excess fat and that kind of thing. Then you're going to, I think it's called de-lime the hide, basically just wash the hide out and get rid of the lime. Then you go into the tanning. And when you're vegetable tanning, you're immersing the hides in basically a series of progressively stronger tannin baths. This step takes like weeks to months. I think it can take a little less time as well on an industrial scale. But depending on the quality of the leather that you're going for and the thickness of the hide, if you're doing a really thick hide, it can take longer to get the proper penetration. It's going to take a while. The tannins penetrate the collagen fibers of the hides, basically transforming them into leather. This process sort of stabilizes the hide so it won't rot. You're replacing the water molecules in the collagen with tannins. So the hide doesn't really lose a lot of weight. It's wet, obviously, when it dries, but when you're chrome tanning, you're just getting rid of the water molecule altogether. With vegetable tanning, you're not. And vegetable tan leathers come out kind of dry. So if you use a natural vegetable tan leather, that's the sort of Caucasian skin-toned leather you see me using in a lot of my videos, that's just a totally undyed, untreated vegetable tan leather. That's what it comes out looking like when it's done being turned into leather from an animal skin. But as with the leather we're using here, you can choose to dye the leather. You can hot stuff it with oils or tallows from the animal itself, and you can treat the surface of it. So you can, vegetable tan leather is really good at taking an impression. So you can emboss it with, say, a croc pattern or a snakeskin pattern or a crosshatch or a texture, or you can do all sorts of things to veg tan leathers. Chrome tanning is a more modern method of tanning leather. It usually uses chromium salts, primarily chromium sulfate, but you can also call it mineral tanning if a chromium is not used. Now these sulfates go in to stabilize the collagen fibers in animal hides and turn them into leather. The process is faster than vegetable tanning. It's usually about a few hours to a day, and it produces a much more supple and pliable leather. However, the process does vary a little bit from the veg tan process. After the delining of the hides, before the hides are put into the tanning solution, they are subjected to an acid and salt bath. Usually it's sulfuric acid and salt. And what this does is it lowers the pH of the hide and it prepares the collagen fibers to absorb the chromium salts. The hides are immersed in a chromium sulfate solution, and the chromium salts penetrate the hides and form stable bonds with the collagen fibers. Once a hide comes out of the chromium solution, it's dried, and then it needs to be neutralized because it's just been exposed to a lot of acids and salts that could eat away at it if those are left active. So they're neutralized and removed. And from there, you have leather that can be dyed in very bright colors compared to veg tan. That's one of the benefits of chrome tanning, is that you get very bright colors. The dyes are usually synthetic, whereas you do use some more natural dyes with veg tan leathers. Then you're going to reintroduce hydration, so you'll add back your oils, your waxes, fats if you want to do that. You can also treat the surface. You can do any of the buffing, polishing, embossing. You can enhance textures, appearances, that sort of thing. And you can also provide a little bit more protection or some waterproofedness, if that's even a word, with coating the leathers. And then you're ready to make stuff with your chrome tan leather. The advantages of chrome tanning over veg tanning are that it's a much faster process, so it's a little more cost effective because of that. The big thing is that chrome tan leathers are much more soft and flexible, so they already feel broken in, essentially. The general public isn't going to look at a veg tan piece and be excited to break it in. Everyone complained about boots having to be broken in, and baseball mitts were put in pickled juice and in the freezer and all that kind of stuff. With a chrome tan leather, it's a lot easier to break in the product and wear it and not get blisters and sores and all that kind of stuff. It's also a lot lighter, so a larger piece like a duffel bag or a purse isn't going to be as burdensome in a chrome tan leather as it is in a veg tan leather on the body. So it's not going to be heavy before you even load it in with your stuff. I mean, it'll have some weight to it, but it won't be nearly as heavy as a veg tan product will be. The disadvantages of a chrome tan leather as compared to a veg tan leather are really the environmental impact. The chromium salts are pretty harmful to the environment if they're not properly managed, if they're not filtered. Chrome tanning is done in a lot of third world countries and a lot of places where proper PPE isn't used. So you really have to worry about the people and the environment around a tannery that does chrome tanning. And the third one is it looks less natural. So if you look at a lot of chrome tan leathers, you're going to see a lot of the bright oranges, a lot of the bright reds, bright blues, fuchsias, that sort of thing. And so some people will complain that it's not natural looking. I don't really care about that. I think it's cool that we can do all sorts of different colors and stuff. But some people do worry about that. Lastly, you can combination tan, which is using a combination of both of the tannages, chrome and veg tanning, on one hide. Examples of this would be Blatigo is a chrome tan veg retan usually, and a lot of the Newbury leather stuff is combo tanned, and you do this to get the best of both worlds. So you do this to get maybe better color out of a veg tan, etc. And here we go. So we're done with this wallet, a combination of chrome tan on the outside, veg tan on the inside. And the thing that's going to be interesting about this one is how it's going to age, because we didn't really talk about patina, but veg tan generally patina is darker, and chrome tan patina is lighter. Let's have a look at some leathers that have been out and about for years. This one is a veg tan piece. It's been used for 5 years. You can see the leather is getting darker. Now this happens, it's essentially burnishing like you would burnish an edge, except on the faces of the leather. You can see where the wallet isn't touching anything, it's lighter. And this is a chrome tan piece. It's been used about 10 years, just straight through. You can see some of the pieces have stretched out. You can see the pockets are deformed, and that's because I didn't really stitch where I should. I didn't really know what I was doing back then with chrome tan stuff. You can also see that it's fading light. The dye falls out over time. The edges do not burnish. There's no patina. It just gets lighter and eventually just fades. You don't get as deep of a color anymore, but it's still held up. So we'll count that as a win. And it looks pretty good if you ask me. Now the last one coming up is also a veg tan piece, and it's a very special piece because it's about 10 years old, and you can see it has been worn in a pair of denim jeans for 10 years, and it's picked up a lot of the indigo from that denim. And that's one thing that veg tan will do that chrome tan will also do. If you have outside dyes on your pants, they're going to pick that up. But on the inside, you can see that you have a nice dark patina, again, due to that burnishing. A chrome tan wouldn't do that. However, a retan usually would. So if you get a veg tan with a chrome retan, you'll get a bright leather that usually will patina a little bit darker. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.